for change. I'm alive in body, mind, and spirit. Thankful for this beautiful day. All is well, all is great, all is working for my highest good. All is well, all is great, I am saved. Your love's got my back today. Yeah, I'm walking tall, feeling grounded, living in the power of faith. I believe in a power so much higher. I'm plugged in, I'm ready to play. All is well, all is great, all is working for my highest good. All is well, all is great, I am saved. The universe got my back today. I'm tired, I'm not wired. Just touch me and you feel the same. I'm living, breathing, loving, being trusting. I'll find my way. 'Cause the universe has got my back today. All is well, all is great, all is working for my highest good. All is well, all is great, I am saved. You've got my back today. Yeah, yeah. The universe has got my back today. And it's got your back too. Take it out, Joe.
Yes, Kim Yarson and Joe Jakubicki. Did I say it right this time?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi everybody, welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living Morristown, live streaming on Facebook. I love how when things seem to go all wrong, we can figure out a way to make it right. So we have Michael Malik here recording us on Facebook Live, and we promise you that we will post this video on YouTube so those YouTubers who don't have Facebook can still see the message today, because we have a really special message in store for you. I want you to know that our theme for the year is still Vision 2020, and for September it is still Facing the Fear. And today the topic is being faith. Besides Michael being here and Kim and Joey, we have a special guest who is a newly licensed practitioner in Princeton, New Jersey, Center for Spiritual Living, Susan Niedt, so you get to experience somebody new. I want you to know what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about faith. As we know it, it's kind of been the theme for the month, right? And what I'm going to talk about is how can we simplify faith? How can we simplify this idea of faith? And I want to simplify it with three things. One is the common sense about faith, that it's just a way of living, not just something we do once in a while when it seems right. And that the question then is, well, what about fear? And then the third part is a few tips on how we can live more deeply into faith. So again, my name is Frankie Timmers. I'm the spiritual director here at Center for Spiritual Living Morristown, and I am so glad you're with us. We want you to check out our website, www.cslmorristown.org. I know that many of you love to be generous and you love to give to support our work, so there's a give button, and so that's a place where you can give if you like. And we want you to share this page, share this live stream, share the video after it's posted. Share with us where you are, who you are. If you have any questions, we'll use them for later. Use the little bubble, say hello to each other, and all those good things. So, let's do an opening treatment, which is our word for affirmative prayer. So right here, right now, I use the I and mine, the I am and the my truth, as if I am speaking from and to the divine self in each and every one of us, because there's really only that. There's only the one. There's only divinity at work. And when we see it missing, it's because we get to bring it. And that's our faith. Our faith is our essence. So I know today that we're in the right place at the right time with the right people, and that I am open and receptive to the message, and that I am blessed to be on a spiritual journey because it grounds me, that I am grateful to be open and receptive to the science of mind philosophy that continues to grow me, and I am grateful to be in the company of those of like mind. So today is a day of deepening my faith in my essential nature and the guidance I receive to give it life, to give it birth, to put it into action. So trusting then that everything is unfolding in divine perfection, I turn this word over to the universal law because it really knows how to demonstrate it for my highest and best. And so it is. All right. It's kind of fun to have Michael be so close to me, his beautiful energy. So let's simplify this idea of faith. How can we simplify this idea of faith? I think we can simplify it by thinking about it as breathing. That our faith is a living thing, like our breathing is a living thing, like our being in the world is a living thing, like what we do as a job or a service is a living thing. And so living what then? Well, living faith. I love what St. Augustine says, and this was a quote in Science of Mind magazine yesterday. It said, faith is to believe what you do not see. Faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. And so I know that when we think about our own divinity, we can't see it, but we can believe in it. And the reward is that believing in it, we see it. I want to use the glossary from the Science of Mind textbook by Ernest Holmes, because in the glossary, Ernest Holmes says under the word faith, faith is a mental attitude, so inwardly embodied that the mind can no longer deny it. Faith is complete when it is both a conscious and subjective acceptance. Faith may be consciously generated. In spiritual terminology, faith means a belief in the presence of an invisible principle and law which directly and specifically responds to us. So, this is what we know in our teaching. It's what we teach. It says that you are a divine being housed in a container called the human body. And so the human experience is the experience of expressing our divine nature, of exploring our divine nature, of reflecting on our divine nature, of choosing to live from our divine nature. It's really about our essential nature. You and I are more than skin and bones. We are more than our health, more than our wealth, more than our relationships, and more than our vocation and how we show up in the world. And we know that, we feel that. That's why we have this longing for the more, which is not for more stuff, mind you. It's for more self with a capital S. And so whatever you call it, your spirit, your soul, your heart, your consciousness, your divinity, your essence, God, all that is what we are here to live. And so that way of living is what I'm talking about. And then we move into remembering. That's what I really think faith is. I think faith is remembering who and beyond what I really am, beyond what I can see or even feel or think. Faith is remembering that we are all divine beings and noticing where we say, oh, well, they are, but he or she is not. That's where our work is. And so it's a living thing and a way of being, even when we're struggling. Actually, especially when we're struggling. Especially when the world seems to be on fire. And so what about fear then? What do we do with fear? Well, I think fear has gotten a really bad rap, especially with spiritual people, metaphysical people, because we say it's faith or fear. But what if it's both? Just like your humanness and your divinity is the same thing. It's not and or and either or. It's both and. So I've been talking this month about fear being a messenger. What if fear is the awakener? What if we're experiencing fear so that we may awaken to our divinity? Just imagine being around people who are afraid. That's really not so hard to imagine right now because you just have to turn on the news or be out in the world, right? So imagine that you're with somebody who's very fearful. Think about what that feels like. Think about what judgment you have. Think about what advice you want to give. Think about what you are tempted to fix. And then think about it in relationship to self, because we're not so different from anyone else. We like to think we are, but we aren't, right? Then to think of self. I know that when I feel fear, I feel it everywhere. I feel it in my body. I feel it in my mind. I feel it in my heart. And I am a different person. So we get to pay attention to fear as the great awakener, because really it's calling us deeper. It's calling us to know something different. It's calling us to have a more conscious view of who we are as spiritual beings. I think we live in a really exciting time, and that it's a very unique time, and what a blessing it is to be alive, even more so to be spiritually aware. And it's a very pivotal time, so it's even more important for us to really pay attention to what's going on inside of us and to heal the fear that blocks the faith and to step into faith in a greater way. I listened to a really powerful podcast on Being, but with Krista Tippett last week, and it was with Angel Kyoto Williams, who's a Zen master, and it was an interview that was from a few years ago, and then they updated it with something more new, and she said that something is dying. My ears perked up because I can feel it too, can't you? It's not something to fear, it's something to go, wow, how do I get to be a part of it? And this is what she said. What's dying is our willingness to be in denial. What's dying is our willingness to be in denial. That's true individually, but also collectively, right? And so that means that we have to go deeper into the truth and live it, show up in it. Not just in the places where it's easy, but where it's hard as well. We have to explore that inner conflict that we have, because it's telling, it has information. We have to notice where we feel separate and bring it all into the fold. And we have to use our fear to awaken more powerfully to our inherent faith. So Ernest Holmes says this: in order to have faith, we must have a conviction that all is well. In order to keep faith, we must allow nothing to enter our thought, which will weaken this conviction. Faith is built up from belief, acceptance, and trust. Whenever anything enters our thought, which destroys, in any degree, one of these attitudes, to that extent, our faith is weakened. So how do we arrive then at the place of conviction, acceptance, and trust? How do we live that? Well, first I want to mention conviction, as in the quote, then choice, and then strength. So the first thing I think we should all do, this may surprise you, is do nothing. Do nothing. Just sit and just be still and pause. Because it's in the pause that we end up falling back into the truth, into our faith. That's why meditation is so important. And so after the pause, after the doing nothing, and you know what you need, is you reflect. When we become still and when we pause, we arrive at a place to reflect after the itching stops, right? Because you're itching to go eat or drink or shop or clean the house or read another book or take another class. Once the itching stops, just let yourself reflect. Reflect on, what do you believe? What is your conviction? I am convinced, I am absolutely convinced that tomorrow the sun will rise. I've said this before. I have no doubt in my mind that it won't rise tomorrow. I'm convinced that when fall begins, it will end and winter will begin. Those kind of simple convictions can really be brought into the fold of our thinking and our reflecting and our exploration and deepening of faith. And so use this idea of right here, right now, your conviction is available to you. The second thing he mentions is choice. We have to choose all the time. What if the choices are simple? What if the choice is choosing the higher road rather than the lower one? Choosing faith instead of fear. Choosing oneness instead of separation. Choosing our soul calling instead of our ego need. Choosing our greatness instead of our smallness. But most important, choosing to remember your own divinity instead of living in forgetfulness, which is really another thing why the world is the way it is. We've forgotten our divinity and we've forgotten that life is sacred. So it's a spiritual responsibility we have to live from faith, to remember our divinity and everyone else's, to remember how resilient we really are, and to know that love is all there is, and law supports us in embracing that by living in faith. Remember St. Augustine and what he said way back when? Faith is to believe what you do not see. The reward of this faith is to see what you believe. And now let's have some more music, and then we will have Susan, who's going to do a reading and a moving meditation and a closing treatment, and I'll be back with a few announcements and saying goodbye to you. Kim and Joey, take it away.
Does a bird want to have a fly? Does he take a leap and soar up to the sky? Does a flower think about its life? Wonder where the rain is or how it's gonna die? No, that's just what we humans do. We lack trust and forget the truth. That's just how we operate. We live our lives without faith. It's everything we need. It's everything to live for. Like the air we breathe. Faith gives us strength to go on. With a promise that we'll live on. Cannot be straight. Faith. Does the sun forget to rise each day? The worry will burn out, never shine again. Does the ocean think about its tides? Or if its waves stop cracking, how the moon will rise? That's just what we humans do. We lack trust and forget the truth. That's just how we operate. We live our lives without
so invigorating. Hello, my name is Susan Niedt, and I am a practitioner at the Center for Spiritual Living, and it is a privilege to be here. And I have to say, it's new and unusual to talk to a phone, but I know that you are all out there, and I'm glad you are. Now, I have a little secret to tell everyone. Today is my birthday, and why that's important, well, is that I've had an opportunity to spend 68 wonderful years here on earth, but birthdays to me mean another day to express divinity. And when I think of birth, I think of another time that God in its self-giving nature can express itself with love. And that to me is a blessing. So what I wanted to share with you today in honor of my day of birth is one of my favorite rituals. It is an Ernest Home reading, but his words are such poetry. And so I go outside, imagine this, barefoot, doesn't matter what season, and I read this most often in my daily ritual. So I'm going to share it with you, and then I'm going to invite you, should you wish to participate, to stand up if you're not already standing from that great music, and to say it with me. I'll repeat it. It'll be easy for you. Or you can just watch and have a good time. So here's how it goes. And so my faith, the faith of the little child within me, rises with expectancy to meet this new day in joy and accept the bounty of heaven. And with that faith, the faith of that little child, I put my human hand into the invisible hand of the all-sustaining good, and I let the miracle of life and love unfold. What's beautiful about that is it's my faith. It's my faith in motion. I let my divinity to express. As Reverend Frankie said, we have nothing to do but allow, to receive, to be open, and let our faith move. So I'm excited that I'm going to ask you to try this with me. I'm going to say a line, and then I invite you to repeat it after me with the movement, because remember, I'm barefoot out there. And oh, I see Reverend Frankie stood up. She's all ready to go. So, and so my faith, the faith of the little child within me, rises with expectancy, and greets this new day in joy, and accepts the bounty of heaven. And so my faith, the faith of that little child, puts my human hand into the invisible hand of the all-sustaining good, and lets the miracle of life and love unfold. Isn't that yummy?
Yes, delicious.
Delicious. And so now I ask you to find that quiet place and sit in stillness and close your eyes if it's available to you, and feel that support as you sit. Feel that support of the ever-present Spirit. And I'm just going to repeat those words. They are in the first person, so you can take them as if they are your own, because they are your own. We are all one in spirit. And so my faith, the faith of that little child within me, rises with expectancy and greets this new day in joy and accepts the bounty of heaven. And with that faith, the faith of that little child, I put my human hand into the invisible hand of the all-sustaining good, and I let the miracle of life and love unfold. And as we sit in this wonderful deep silence of our peace. I speak these words for each one here, each one who wanted to be here, each one who is observing this in any form that they are using. This I know, that we are all here. We were all inspired to be here by that one, by the love that is ever present, and that is the love of God, the love of the Spirit, the self-giving nature, creating each one as this perfect, individualized, beautiful self. But in this selfhood, we know we are at one with the greater good, the Spirit, Source, the divinity within us and all around us. And as we all move with this love from good to greater good, because we are all experiencing the motion of the faith of that little child within us, we all know this truth. And each one embraces it and is inspired by it. And in gratitude for this wonderful day and this wonderful life, and every day as a birthday, a day of this expression of good, of the self-givingness of God, and every day we move forward in unity and in love, compassion for each other as one, for the peace that passeth understanding, for the harmony that is ever present. Spirit, 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 expressed as each one. So with gratitude, I am always knowing these words to be true, and I invite myself to release them to the law, because the words are already made manifest. And with great gratitude, I say, and so it is.
And so it is.
So thank you all for being here with us today.
Happy birthday, Susan. I didn't even know that. And we've been chatting to get her to come here. So next week we have another practitioner from Princeton coming to visit. It's not Susan. And so we'll have a wonderful time with that. And we'll have Monica Garcia Medina play for us. So I want you to know that if you're not on our email list, you might be missing out on all the wonderful events we have at our center. So be sure to be on our mailing list. Simply request it here on Facebook, or check out the website. You can sign up for it there, or call us, or just email us at office@cslmorristown.org, and we'll put you on the list. We have a beautiful weekly constant contact now. Thank you, Christine. So I want you to know that this Tuesday is yoga with Stephen Tarsitano, and that's Kundalini Yoga, and he's an amazing teacher. And if you say, I can't do yoga on Zoom, well, he'll dispel that one, because it's really fun for us to be together on Zoom and do yoga. That's at 6:30, but you need to sign a waiver for it and get the Zoom link. That's why you want to be on our mailing list. On Wednesday, I'm doing the Art of Spiritual Living, which is just an opportunity to come together and to dive deeper into today's practice, today's topic as a practice. And so it's going to be the last one for a little bit, because then I go on vacation. And then our beloved Reverend Janice Valera is teaching a class called Revealing Wholeness, which is going to be either Wednesday nights or Thursday mornings. You can choose which one you prefer. That starts on the 30th of September and is 7 weeks, so you want to join that for a class. Today we have our social hour, and it's back with Lori Carlson. Thank you, Lori. If you do not have the link, it's because you're not on our email list. And so let us know, and we'll put you on the list so you can join us for social hour. She's actually looking for some volunteers. Maybe some of you will say, I'll pick a Sunday to help social hour make it happen. And it starts, the room opens at 11 and it officially starts at 11:30. But just come in and visit and grab your cup of coffee and join us. So I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Kim and Joey. Thank you, divine presence within each and every one of us. And I know we are here to remember the truth and to live it.
Everyone's got their own perception. We grow up, our history can play games. Perception sometimes means deception. Turn something upside down, didn't want to say. You change your story. There's nothing that went wrong. You grew from every lesson. You know it made you strong. Don't believe the lies your monkey mind's been telling you. Your life is pure and made of God's glory. And that's your real life story. Time is now, take a new direction. Let go of all your self-defeating ways. In your life with purpose and affection. Take all your old beliefs, wash them down the drain. You change your story. There's nothing that went wrong. You grew from every lesson. You know it made you strong. Don't believe the lies your monkey mind's been telling you. Life is pure and made of God's glory. That's your real life story. Transform, choose to believe you've made the best of your time here. You can change your story. There's nothing that went wrong. You grew from every lesson. You know it made you strong. Don't believe the lies your monkey mind's been telling you. Of God's glory. Don't believe the lies your monkey mind's been telling you. Your life is pure and made of God's glory. And that's your real life story. Thank you, everybody. Have a blessed day. That's your real life story.
Thank you everyone for dealing with our sound and video. We will be getting better and better at this as we go along. Adios.